and our faculty have come a very long way just to extend our hand of friendship. It was a worthwhile trip. Yes, it was grueling, and I'm sorry that it's showing on my face. I'm really sorry about that. But I find it most worthwhile, most worthwhile. It is not every day that you get to stand before such a distinguished audience. I work at a university. There are doctors everywhere, everywhere. But we walked into this building and everyone I met was a doctor. Everywhere I turn, there is such distinction. I don't know how you manage. With all of this distinction, there must be a certain amount of humility that operates within these walls. Otherwise, nothing would ever get done. And so, just by your presence, just by your demeanor, just in the way you operate and you communicate, we feel welcome. We feel welcome. Thank you. Thank you. In terms of the presentation, I would say I need to say thank you to industry, to corporate, to art and culture for coming and being part of this, because we can develop the mind, but if we don't develop the body, if we don't develop the spirit, if we don't develop the whole person, we are lost. We are lost, just like sounding brass and clanging cymbals. Pepperdine University is a faith-based institution. We believe in Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. And in the Bible, in John, the 10th chapter, in the 16th verse, I believe, it said, Jesus is speaking, and he says, I have sheep that are not of this fold. I must call them also, that they may hear my voice, and we all may be one. We've come a long way, so that we all may hear a voice and be one, regardless of race, regardless of color, regardless of creed, regardless of all that separates us. We want to be one. And we can be one in leadership, we can be one in research, we can be one in many ways. Today is the start of something really big that will be one.
Thank you.
That will be one. And so I don't know who's managing the PowerPoint presentation, but I will give a few clues and pray that they can follow a list before. A few of us, right? I present to you today on technology because I believe that technology has entered our world in a very significant way and has impacted every area of our lives. But as leaders, we may not have done the best job managing technology. We may need to catch up with technology, because it is in fact growing and exceeding each and every day. So years ago, I longed for the telephone that would hang on the wall in my home. You see, I was born in the backwoods of South Carolina in a 4-room home that stood on cinder blocks. We had no running water in the house. We had no electricity in the house. And so to have a telephone hanging on the wall meant that you really had arrived. You were somebody. And I longed for the day that we would have a telephone hanging on the wall. But even more, do you all remember? I was really excited about the time when we got an extended cord. Do you remember that cord? It was really long, and you could walk from the kitchen into the dining room, into the living room with that same, having that same phone conversation, and that cord would stretch all the way, and it would curl up and tangle up. I longed for that experience. Technology had entered our world. And then on the next slide, we come to a point where we now, all of us have telephones. It doesn't mean that you have arrived. It means that you are connected, that you are able to reach out one to another and connect. Everybody has a telephone now, and it's more than a telephone. It's a camera. It is a voice recognition piece. You name it, you can do it with these smartphones. Here's something else. Anybody remember the Underwood? Yes, I see a few hands. The Underwood manual typewriter. Oh my goodness, your fingers were exercised as you used this. I actually used an Underwood manual typewriter. But today we have something new. Today we have our iPads, we have our smart pads. We take them everywhere. We imagine carrying an Underwood manual typewriter everywhere you go. Today we've got portable mobile devices of all kinds. Let's look at the next slide. At the next slide we will see the Delta 9181T DST, eschew single-handle, pull-down, touch kitchen faucet with touch 20 technology. Remember, we had no running water in my home. And now all I have to do is touch the faucet and water flows. Technology advancing rapidly every day. All you have to do is have $433 and you can have one in your home today. As we move forward, there are some things we have to be mindful of with regard to technology. It has invaded our world. It's moving faster than lightning. We are struggling to keep up. What does it mean for us? What does it mean for us as leaders? Well, Betty Taylor wrote this article, 6 Tech Trends for 2022. Now, Betty attended a conference that was held by the Churchill Group, the Churchill Club, actually, where their theme is that they are igniting conversations to accelerate innovation. Accelerate means to go faster. It's already ahead of us. But they want to accelerate innovation, economic growth, and societal benefit. The forum is held in Silicon Valley in California, and they offer a prize to the person that comes up with the best idea of where technology is going. 2022. Steve Jurvetson, for the last 5 years, has won the prize. And what has he come up with? Well, there are 6 things that we shall review in our next slide. The 6 things are machine learning. Machine learning. The machine listens, the machine thinks, the machine understands, or does it? Does it? Machine learning tells us that a child, I sit with my grandchildren and I teach them. We find that in America, I don't know if you do this here in India, but in America we have the Common Core curriculum, where everyone is learning in kindergarten through 12th grade. Everyone is supposedly learning the same subject matter on the same day during the same year. So all of our children graduate perhaps with the same body of knowledge, the Common Core curriculum. I won't go into how effective it is or how effective it isn't. but I will share that we do have the Common Core curriculum. With that, it means that teachers must teach the subject matter as is prescribed. But our children don't all learn at the same pace. And so a lot of computer learning is taking place. Programs are put on the computer. The teacher presents the subject matter to maybe a third grade child. That child goes home, logs in on his or her computer, and then does the lessons at home. Well, it means that a lot of learning is taking place at home that perhaps, I'm on my soapbox, that perhaps should be taking place in the classroom. However, how do we know that that child is actually learning? Well, the machine is learning. The machine becomes intuitive. The programs are written in such a way that if the child is asked a question and they answer the question, they answer the questions and they get 80% of the questions right, of the answers right, then the machine will move on to the next set of questions. That's being very intuitive for a machine. That's machine learning. The machine understands that the child perhaps got 5 answers correct instead of 10, so the machine will not move forward to the next set of questions. They will just read, the machine will simply read, shuffle the questions and present them to the child again until they get the right answer. They may be guessing, but the machine is learning. This is machine learning. The prediction is that that is going to increase significantly by 2022. The next is intelligence at the edge of the internet. So much to learn there, but I will simply say the internet, we did a fantastic job. All of us across the world did a fantastic job. This amazing machine was created called the internet, this amazing device called the internet, and we used it for shopping. Now, I love to shop, but perhaps that wasn't the best use of the internet. We shop, we play games, we will sometimes search for answers to questions, but at the edge of learning, at the edge of technology, there is something else going on, and we must not dummy down the internet just for shopping. Just for shopping. Voice user interface is another piece that emerged as a prediction for 2022. Voice user interface, what is that? Well, Amazon.com has Alexa. iPhones have Siri. And sometimes, honestly, I get them confused. I talk to Alexa and I call her Siri and she doesn't answer and I can't figure out why. But that is the kind of technology that will advance by 2022. The understanding is that, yes, we will have smart homes, but that every device in our homes will have a tiny little chip about the size of a button on a man's shirt. And that chip will allow voice recognition. That chip will allow voice user interface, and so soon the voice user interface will be ruling the household. That's one word. Gesture communication. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I just bought a new car. I'm so excited about my new car. Not necessarily because of the horsepower. I like that. I like the horsepower. Not necessarily because of the engine. The engine works really well. I like it because of gesture communication. I can sit in my car, and if the song comes on and I really like that song, I can just turn my finger around and around and around and the volume goes up. I can just wave my finger around and around the other way, and the volume goes. If I get out of my car and I have not played with the radio, I have missed an opportunity. Maybe I need to ride around the block another time or two. Gesture communication will increase. It will increase. More of our body movements will become part of technology. It's going to be used more. And I have to say, I am amazed. I have noticed being here in India, perhaps gesture communication will become even more prevalent right here in India, because I have observed that Indian people have a certain way of communicating with each other that supersedes what we do as Americans. We are like, hey, over here, yeah, how you doing? But Indian people have a way of, and everything is understood. And everything is understood. Gestures, and it's a very quiet and peaceful way of communicating. I quite enjoy it. So perhaps gesture communication, we should recommend that it be implemented right here in India. And then there's DNA Biotech Development. Oh, this is so amazing. So technology has infiltrated our entire world, but probably no more so, good doctor, than in medicine. Biotech, biomedicine, oh my goodness. We've talked about a chip being put in our bodies that can communicate with our computers and tell us if we're doing okay or tell us where we're off. My daughter is a neurologist. I sat and had dinner with her the other day, and she said, Mommy, that's passé. Because I was talking about MRIs, now, before the MRIs used to be big machines, and they'd roll you into the machine, and now they have these tiny little machines that don't induce claustrophobia. She said, Mommy, that's passé. Now, as a neurologist studying epilepsy, I can put a chip in my patient's brain, a tiny little chip, and that chip will regulate my patient's body, and it will tell us that my patient is just about to have a seizure. And we can send communication to that chip and reduce the seizure or avoid it completely. Amazing. Amazing. Biomedical technology. Moving fast. DNA. Now, I am not going to talk about whether we will decide to have a baby and actually choose the eye color or choose the gender. I'm not going to talk about the ethics of all of that. I'm going to leave that to each and every one of you to decide. But that's coming, ladies and gentlemen. And in fact, if we know about it, if it's written, it must be here in some form. So look for it. And then there's artificial intelligence and robotics, the sixth tech trend that will be prevalent in 2022. Artificial intelligence. Exactly what is that? I contend, and I present to you today, that is the most prevalent part of these 6 trends. As we look at the next slide, let's move forward and see to what we are facing. Artificial intelligence, please. Next slide. Rosalind Picard, ages ago, 1997, came up with effective computing. She wrote this book, and it talked about the computer learning emotions. As we go to the next slide, we see that Rana El-Khaliobi from Egypt has developed the Affectiva Incorporated, organization where she is studying facial recognition. She is studying how to teach the computer human emotions. And the next slide, we will tell us that she is using algorithms to measure emotional responses. We can actually see this by fast forwarding to the next slide. Because the next slide shares with us, the next slide please, thank you. You see where she puts electrodes in different places and the computer learns whether the person is sad, the person is happy, the person, whatever that person is feeling. The idea is that in time, moving forward with the next slide, in time we will be able to determine emotions. We will be able to determine a student's stress level. We will be able to determine if the client is going to have a manic depressive moment or if they're going to be experiencing schizophrenia. What are the challenges that all of this brings? The challenges are we must get a handle on cybersecurity. We must figure out employment shifts right here in India. Over 3.1 million people are unemployed. What will the growth in technology do to employment in India, in the US, and all over? We must institutionalize societal standards. Must we talk on the phone in the restaurant 24/7? Do I have to hear your conversation as I'm out for a quiet dinner with my family and friends? We must use interdisciplinary innovation and application. Bottom line is we must work together. No one person or one entity can do it alone. This artificial intelligence is being developed by physicists and mathematicians and psychologists and a group of people together. One person can't do it. And we must implement multi-generational gender balance. Multi-generational. We must incorporate Gen X, X generation, Y generation, millennials. They see life through a different lens. If we leave them out of the process, we will be lost. We will miss something. Also is true for women. I am delighted to see so many women here today because we must remember, it's the woman's hand that rocks the cradle, that leads the nation. We must not leave out the women. And finally, solutions. What are the solutions? We must work together. Our lives are inextricably linked. Research together. This is why we've come here today. Our lives are inextricably linked. If we don't work together, we will die together. Global warming affects India as it affects the United States. Cancer affects India as it affects China. We must do this all together. Nothing's going to happen and be resolved in one place. Only hand in hand can we do this. Only leaders who operate with transformational leadership and connective leadership, and only together can we stand and move forward. I thank you for your time and your attention, and I say let's get on with the business of saving our world. Thank you.